I had someone sent me a particular video, and it's almost prophetic the way I'm speaking nowadays, especially concerning trends that are taking place here in this country that we live in, America, because I'm making videos and I'm calling it about what's going on with veterans and everything, and how that the history of this country has been less than positive towards us. I mean, it seems like the only time they ever want us is in time of war. You put us in a glass jar and break only in a time of war. But in 2011, I had somebody send me a very interesting video, and they tried to accuse us of being associated with right-wing extremist groups. I mean, I'm a pastor. And I might say a damn good one at that, regardless of whatever flavor religion that you're in. I just don't jack people around. I tell the truth. I don't care if people like it or not. It makes no difference to me whether they're here or forbear. I'm telling the truth. Those who have honor, respect, integrity, character, that know the truth when they hear it, they don't care about all the noise and everything else, the way that the message is being delivered. They just want to know the truth. Because one thing's for sure, regardless of if you don't like the way I deliver it, the way I speak, or whatever it is, you can't do nothing against the truth. It is the truth. You can't fight against it. If you don't know the Bible, you don't know the truth anyway. So it's totally irrelevant. What are you saying on this for, Pastor? Well, the reason why I state it's almost prophetic, because I'm pretty much telling everybody what the trends are going to be and what's happening here in this country concerning our government and the way they feel about veterans. And, when you get them saying certain things and reporting certain things, the ink is already dry on the paper. This is going to be their response, their physical response towards us. I want you to take a look at this video right here. Give me your thoughts on it, because I'm not speaking out the side of my neck. I may say a lot of things that you may not be familiar with, but the day and the hour is coming, and it's time for all of us to literally wake up. Just because you feel a feeling or you have a particular impulse and stuff, have you ever really checked that feeling and checked that impulse to see if that's the thing that is actually keeping you from truth or not? Sure, I say a lot of unpopular things, but I say a lot of truthful things. I think we ought to take heed, especially as veterans, because we do have a government that is against us, no doubt about it. I'll let this video do the talking. I want to hear what you say. How about that?
Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano tonight is facing a storm of protests over her department's view on domestic terrorism. Now, she is refusing to criticize a Homeland Security report that links right-wing extremists with military veterans, supporters of border security, and advocates for gun rights. Napolitano offered an apology of sorts to veterans. Critics say that apology does not go far enough. Bill Tucker reports.
Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano tried to clear up the controversy surrounding her department's report regarding the threat potential of domestic right-wing extremist groups. Single-issue groups such as anti-abortion activists, groups focused on illegal immigration or Second Amendment rights, and military veterans all were mentioned as groups vulnerable to recruitment by right-wing extremists in the report. Veterans who pledged their lives to defend the United States were especially stunned. So without disavowing the report, Secretary Napolitano explained on CNN's American Morning.
This is an assessment, not an accusation, as the Veterans of Foreign Wars organization released yesterday. But I know that some veterans groups were offended by the fact that veterans were mentioned in this assessment. So I apologize for that offense. It was certainly not intended. I'll be meeting with the leaders of some of those groups next week.
A spokesman for one veterans group said he understands the department's intent.
We believe it was a poorly written report. It should have included not only military veterans who are possibly targets for extreme right group recruitment, but it could have included SWAT teams, police teams, FBI, the own ICE agents coming out of Department of Homeland Security themselves.
DHS issued a statement on why domestic threat assessment is necessary, but added, quote, "We do not, nor will we ever, monitor ideology or political beliefs." But that statement failed to reassure groups opposed to the liberalization of immigration policy and focused on gun control.
When House Speaker Pelosi said immigration enforcement was un-American, and then you see a document like this published by the Department of Homeland Security, you see what is fusing into a modern-day version of the Un-American Activities Committee.
If Richard Nixon had published a profile of his political opponents like this, an enemies list like this, why, he would have been out of office before he was.
President Nixon did have such a list, and when it was uncovered and published, it unleashed a fury in the media.
Now, the report says current political and economic conditions pose the threat of domestic terrorism like that seen in the 1990s in Oklahoma City. But critics say the report is nothing more than an attempt by DHS to crush free speech through condemnation and intimidation. A department spokeswoman late this afternoon conceded that there are or were objections to parts of the report from the department's Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Office. But, Kitty, she refused to be specific about what they might be.
So what? There's
We
no.
don't know. We know that there were problems and that Civil Rights, Civil Liberties had objections, but the report, which was not intended to be issued publicly, it was meant to go to law enforcement, came out anyway.
All right. Thanks very much, Bill. Bill Tucker.
So did you hear that type of rhetoric and nonsense? Now the Department of Homeland Security basically is saying that veterans are terrorists and right-wing extremists. Now, what's amazing is when you have all these groups out there, especially I'm talking about in the government, they are the ones that's causing all the terrorism, not only in this country, but all across the world. It's a good way to remove the public's eye off of them and place it on someone else when you pointing your finger and playing the blame shift game, isn't it? It sure is. So when you see these people saying stuff like this and then they turn around and do, if you even want to call it an apology, it's in their heart. The ink is already dry on the paper. That is exactly the way they feel. And let me tell y'all something real true that's going on. When you hear a politician mouth moving, they're lying. But when you hear them making statements like this, they have already fingered certain groups, and they're talking about veterans. They have already fingered them as terrorists that we need to worry about. So this is the reason why I resent the rhetoric of our government and stuff. It's obvious that Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Clinton, and all of them don't care nothing about vets. It's just obvious. What saith you, old timers?